Hey friends, it's Caitlin and Tishka here from Spill the Reads, and today I'm doing my first ever mid-year freakout tag. So I took these prompts from a dark corner of the library. So thank you, Melanie, for letting me borrow your questions. I think some of hers are original questions as well. So the first one is best book of 2025. All right, let me just preface this video by saying almost everything could be Sky Daddy, but I will talk about other books too. So let me choose one that I think deserves more attention, and that would be Havoc by Christopher Bolin. This is a literary thriller set in Luxor, Egypt, and it's about an 80-year-old woman who decides that she's just going to live out the rest of her life at this crumbling historic hotel. And then this little kid comes around and kind of threatens her, what she's got going on. And it turns into this totally unhinged book that was just so good. And everyone that I've recommended this to has ended up liking it a lot. So yeah, I just highly recommend this book. I can't wait to check out his other thrillers because he's written several other kind of exotic books like this. I'll talk about those later. Okay, favorite 2025 new release. Yeah, I have to say Sky Daddy by Kate Folk. I didn't really know what to expect from this, and it just totally blew my mind. It just really had a strong effect on me. I thought it was really weird and funny and actually very heartfelt at the end. It made me laugh, cry, it shocked me. I just really enjoyed that one. And it also reminded me a lot of my college days because it takes place in and around southwestern San Francisco, around San Francisco State where I went to college. And so I was just totally in this book, kind of reliving my college experience. So that book just had a big effect on me. Okay, next one. Anticipated releases for the rest of 2025. I'm not really one to stock publishers and know what new books are going to come out. I kind of rely on other booktubers to bring things to my attention. Ellen Made Book Club is really good at doing that. But I do have a couple of arcs that I've already been approved for that I guess are anticipated releases, we could say. And that would be Crafting for Sinners. I don't know why he's licking me so much today, Tishka. Stop. Okay. Crafting for Sinners by Jenny Kiefer. This is a craft store horror book that I'm really excited to read. That comes out in October. And I'm also excited to read this weird book collaboration between M. Night Shyamalan, the director, and Nicholas Sparks. They made a romance book together. It's called Remain. I was approved to read that as well. So let's just say those are my anticipated releases, and you can bet that I'll be telling you guys all about them. Okay, biggest disappointment. I'm not really one to dwell over books when I don't like them. I'll just make a video about it and usually forget about it. But I guess there are a couple of books that I thought would have more of an effect on me, and they just didn't. That would be Heartwood. I thought it would be another God of the Woods, but it just let me down. Whalefall as well. Death of the Author, which I did a buddy read of and just put out a book review for. Yeah, all of those disappointed me in one way or another. Biggest surprise of the year. I don't often read romance books, and when I do, they don't always hook me. But something about this book I read called When We Had Forever by Shaylin Gandhi, I was just very wrapped up in this book, and it's just so rare that I will kind of get obsessed with a romantic story. Tishka, if you keep licking me, I'm gonna when I go to edit this, I'm gonna think it looks weird and I'm gonna have to redo the whole thing. So just chill out.
Because tonight will be the night that I will fall for you.
Another book that surprised me was Eat the Ones You Love, the houseplant horror book. That one was surprising because it actually was really scary and I didn't know what it was going to be like. I thought it was maybe going to be funny, but it wasn't funny. It was really, really scary. Favorite new author. I guess I'll just go with Christopher Bolin, the author of Havoc, which was my favorite book of the year. I was just so wrapped up in like his writing. It's just so beautiful. I was just like hanging on every word. I loved the book so much. And so I'm really looking forward to reading his other thrillers. So there's another one set in Egypt. He's like a big Egypt buff. So you get like a really authentic feel when you're reading it. A book in Cairo called The Lost Americans. There's a book set on a Greek island called The Destroyers. All of these are thrillers. And another one in Venice called A Perfect Crime. No, A Beautiful Crime. So I'm looking forward to reading those. New favorite character. I like weird, unhinged women. So Linda from Sky Daddy, Maggie from Havoc, and Vi from Blob. These are my new ladies. Fictional crush. Well, that's a question I'm not going to answer quickly. Okay, so I have some unconventional crushes followed by conventional ones. Unconventional crush number one, probably the Loch Ness Monster guy in Under Lock and Key. This was the first time I read like a monster romance book, and surprisingly, like I was really into it. Also, I think because I was listening to the audiobook and it was like this guy with like an authentic Scottish accent, it made me feel like it was a real person, not just an urban legend. So yeah. Also, like not gonna lie, Kate Folk from Sky Daddy did a really good job at making planes seem almost dateable. You guys have to read that book. Now let's talk about the more conventional crushes. I tried a few dark romances this year, like for the first time. And yeah, I was kind of crushing on Josh from Lights Out and Aiden from Pen Pal. So, they can like play rock, paper, scissors for my heart. All right, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. A book that made you cry this year. I'm not one to really seek out books that wreck me emotionally. And when I do like cry, it's usually just like a little like alone tear and then I'm fine after. But let's see, this year I definitely had like a few tears. I'm laughing because I'm crying made me laugh and cry at the same time, which is like a really weird feeling. All right, say bye to Tishka, you guys. Bye. I think he's gonna go drink some water. Yeah. Besides that, um, a, well, if we're saying crying because I'm sad, a book that made me depressed for like a week was I Who Have Never Known Men. This is like a book I will never forget for the rest of my life. Like I've never had something hit me as hard as this book. I still can't even really put my finger on why, but it's just wow. I don't really have words to describe it. A book that made you happy this year. I also don't really seek out like rosy, super happy books, but there is a romance series that I am kind of into, like a more conventional romance series. It's the Dream Harbor series, and the Strawberry Patch Pancake House is the latest book in that series. It's like a spring romance book, and yeah, that one did make me happy. A book that made you laugh. Patricia Wants to Cuddle. I thought that this one was really hilarious. I was just like smiling the whole time. Starter Villain as well. And Blob, My Husband, Sky Daddy. I love a book that makes me laugh. Creepiest book. Night Watching by Tracy Sierra. I found this one to be really, really creepy. That's a thriller. Eat the Ones You Love was also very creepy. The potato is back. Are you back? Let's talk about some DNFs. So I DNF books all the time. Because I read mostly on Libby, I don't think this is a big deal at all because if I haven't spent money on it and it's not staring at me from my shelf, I don't see the need to force myself to complete something if I'm not enjoying it. I want to make time to find books that I actually really enjoy. So I've probably DNF'd as many books as I've read this year, so at least 40. And some of the ones that I wrote down in my notes are ones that I spent a lot of time in, or like I was trying to convince myself to enjoy them, but I just didn't. and that would be Mexican Gothic. I read half of that and I was like, you have to like it. Try to like this book. And I just didn't. I don't know if Gothics are for me because I also tried to read the first couple chapters of Rebecca like twice this year and I just couldn't get into it. So I don't know. When will I ever find a Gothic? Let me know if you have like a Gothic rec you think that maybe I could like. I don't know why I wrote down Morning Glory Milking Farm, but that book just like scarred me for life. I DNF'd at like 30% and it still freaks me out when I think about it. The Night Circus. I like circuses and clowns and stuff, so I thought that I would really like this book, and I just found it like really, really slow and kind of hard to imagine all of the like fantasy type stuff that's going on in that book. The Winner. Oh my gosh. Okay. This is a book that made me so angry. I DNF'd it like out of spite. All right. That's all the DNFs I will talk about. Most beautiful book that you bought this year. I like to practice minimalism. I don't have a lot of belongings. And when I read a book, I don't often like want to reread them. So since I can read books from the library, I just like rarely buy physical books, but there is a book that I really want to buy. It's a comic book and it's called Weeding by Genevieve LeBleu. Yeah, because I can't get a digital copy of it anywhere and I really like her artwork. I think she makes really beautiful like psychedelic art. And this is supposed to be a story that's like a satire of a soap opera meets like the X-Files. It's about these women who have a tea party and I think a monster turns up in the yard. Anyway, that sounds really fun. And so I'll probably end up getting that this year. Let's see. How has my reading changed in the last 6 months? I think that maybe I'm more drawn to like character driven stories, more literary thrillers over popcorn thrillers, more girly horror, and just continuing to get weirder and weirder with the kind of books that I pick up. How has my booktube channel changed in the last 6 months? So it's been just over a year. I started my channel in May of 2024, but I've gotten a lot more social, I'd say, in the last 6 months. Yeah, I didn't really like know people on booktube when I started, and I felt like I was kind of just like posting into the void. And then once I started making friends, it just became like a totally different experience. And there's one person I could thank in particular, and that's my bestie, Book Reviews with Becky. She's someone that like really was just very kind and like supportive, getting to know me and like tagging me in book tags, which I was like afraid to do because I felt like it was like some kind of like club that you had to, I don't know, be a part of. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing a year into booktube, but I feel like more comfortable for sure. And I'm just enjoying the community a lot more. So thank you to everyone. You guys know who you are, people whose videos I watch and comment on. And thank you to all the viewers. If you don't have a channel, I appreciate you. And you guys just make this a nice place. So thanks for putting up with me and Tishka thus far. Okay, what I want to read before the end of the year. I don't know. I know that I want to start reading more like old school books because I feel like most people feel this way, but I'm always seeing like beautiful covers all over Bookstagram when I'm like scrolling and I feel like a kid in a candy store like, "Oh my gosh, look at this, look at this." And I know that there are just so many older books that are probably just amazing. And I would really like to try reading some older classic books. So maybe some of those. I'd like to finish at least one Stephen King book this year. I mentioned in another video that I read some of The Shining, and last month I read half of Misery. And I don't know. I just want to like finish one and just have a complete idea of like what I think of at least one of his books. I would also like to maybe try like an older classic series. I want to try the Hannibal Lecter series and or The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. So one of those, because I haven't really been reading any series, and yeah, that sounds fun. Yeah, okay, so that's it. So thanks for joining me in my first ever mid-year freakout tag. And let's see, what upcoming videos do I have for you? I'll be doing a wrap up for the month of July pretty soon. Um, I'll also be doing a video for Women in Translation Month, which is in August. So I have some cool books to recommend and other ones on my TBR to tell you about. I'm also thinking of talking about how my 1 year on booktube has been. So if you have questions like about, I don't know, how it's been or anything you want to know about that, let me know in the comments so I can get ideas for what to do with that video. All right. Also, let me tell you about a near death experience that we had a couple of days ago, just to wrap up, because it's kind of strange. We were walking in the park and like a thunderstorm just came on really suddenly. And so we were hiding out in the bathroom, and we like could see that there was like some flashes of lightning like through the door, and there was this giant boom, and the whole bathroom shook. And it turns out that like the tree just behind us got struck by lightning, and it like fell on the bathroom. So thankfully it didn't crush us to death, and we also didn't get struck by lightning, but it was really really scary. So here's a picture of when we went to the park yesterday to see the damage. Yeah, really freaked me out. I'm joking around with my partner saying that maybe it's like a sixth sense kind of thing where I'm actually dead, and he doesn't want to tell me that I'm dead. These guys, see dead people. Anyway, so like, I guess I'm lucky to be alive, and be safe out there. See you guys next time. Bye.